I'm gonna give it a shot. The space hopefully is, we were supposed to meet in that little hurricane thing, man. Yeah, let me know. That's why it's done. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I know it's okay. As soon as you show up to your full. That's right. I just gotta go.
July 10th Planning Commission meeting. Ms. Ruth, will you please call roll?
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Miller.
Here.
Vice Chairman York.
Here.
Commissioner Mandel.
Here.
Commissioner Salazar Garza.
Here.
Commissioner Munoz.
Here.
Commissioner Matagi.
Here.
Commissioner Lerma.
Here.
Commissioner Hedrick.
Here.
Commissioner Budd.
Here.
We have a quorum to start the meeting.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Ms. Ruth, will you please read the rules of decorum?
Thank you. Citizens will be allowed to attend and make public comments in person at City Planning Commission meetings. The public is invited to speak on any agenda item and any other items that pertain to the Planning Commission. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. If you choose to speak during this period, you will not be allowed to speak again when the specific item is being considered in order of the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody in the public like to speak on any items not pertaining to any particular agenda items tonight? I see none, so I'll go ahead and close the public comment and move on to the approval of absences.
This is Commissioner Mandel. I move that we approve the absence of Chairman Miller and Vice Chairman York.
A second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to the approval of minutes.
Commissioner Munoz, I move that we approve the minutes from June 26th meeting.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to consent, public hearing, discussion, possible action. Item number A.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mark Orozco with Development Services, Planner 3. Going to be reading into record consent item A, which is one plat. The plat is for London Town Subdivision Unit 8A. It's a final plat of 13.14 acres. It is located north of FM 43 and west of County Road 33. The plat is meeting TRC comments and the Texas Local Government Code. Staff is recommending approval for this item.
Okay, Commissioners, any questions for staff? Commissioner Hendrick.
I just have a question on Honey Lane that runs alongside London Pirate Road. Is that just an alleyway, or is that a road? It looks rather small.
Was it labeled as an alley?
Yeah, Brea Whitmire Development Services. It is labeled as an alley for the connectivity between those two sides. What was reviewed and made sure that the fire engines could make the turn. So there was a overlay of that. There's signage and curb striping for fire lane.
So fire's good with it? They can drive through there?
Correct. Fire and trash were the biggest concerns to make sure that they could make that movement and that nothing would be blocking them. And that was all checked out in the final plat. The prelim on this was like 2018 that had these alleys set up. So when it hit to the final plat, we just made sure that it hit the fire code and that the solid waste could navigate that.
The revised plat does have a street name on there, so.
Including the fence. We also looked at the bumper as it goes over the curb to make sure it doesn't take, because there is going to be a fence between the county road and that alley.
Okay, if y'all are good with it.
I have a question. So that what you just said, so do they go out there and they actually measure it, or is it something they go by the
It's by the
street
plans.
footage?
It's not built yet, so it's all by the plans, just to overlay the turning of the biggest engine that fire has. And so they overlaid that in AutoCAD just to make sure that it could.
Well, because that's just really important to make sure that these fire guys get through there and.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you know.
That was our biggest concern with it, and
Okay.
that was proven.
Okey-doke.
And also to meet that second access point, they were going to have a temporary fire.
Yes,
access
good point. Because this is a phased development, and so this additional phase was more than 50 houses, but it only had one connection from the existing phases. So they agreed to add a secondary fire access temporary with Knox box in that fence that's shown on the plat.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? I see none. So I'll go ahead and open up the public comment on item number 2. If anybody would like to speak on item number 2, please come forward. I see none. So I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve item 2 as presented by staff.
Second.
There's a motion and second on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3 has been pulled. So we'll be moving on to the director's report. Mr. Dice.
So after 3 long years, we'll be going to council for impact fees, and there goes one of our SAC members. We'll be going to council for impact fees on Tuesday for the first read, and then the second read on the 23rd. Feel free to show up if you have any comments for council, but this is a culmination of a lot of work, a lot of man hours, a lot of volunteer hours from SEAC members, yourselves, and your workshops and briefings that we've had. So it's finally here. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday.
Just one quick question. I noticed in the city manager's report at the last council meeting that on the slide it said that we have, come to a conclusion with how we're going to reconcile trust fund balances. But I didn't hear any details on that, and I've asked that question several times. So what are they going to do?
That is part of the presentation on Tuesday.
So we got to wait for the season finale.
Tune in, as they always say. It's everything is a work in progress until it's actually presented. So we do have a plan, and it will be presented on Tuesday.
Okay. All right.
Do you have a policy? The policy, you were going to have a draft of the policies. How's that working out? Have you?
So we're working with the subcommittee right now. We have some draft policies that are working between them. The draft policies will also be announced of kind of where we're at. They're not final, and we've mentioned that to council through the different briefings that we are going to continue to work with the CX subcommittee to make sure that those are airtight to cover their concerns, and then those will be presented to council at a later date. That was part of CX's recommendation as well. If for whatever reason these policies don't get hammered out by October 1st of 25, then impact fees won't go into place until they get done. So we've already been hard at work at it. We're actually really close to actually having a final draft. We had some meetings today. Tuesday probably won't have a final draft, but it'll be within the next month or two, I'm pretty
Will there
sure.
be any presentation of any kind of draft on Tuesday?
I'm trying to think through the presentation if they have that. I'm not sure.
Okay. Tune in again.
Well, yeah, policy, the way the policy per the SEAC recommendation, it's going to be part of the UDC, and as such, it has to come through Planning Commission.
Okay.
So the draft we'll talk about, I'm sure our chair for SEAC, he'll mention some of that as well. He's giving a presentation or speech, however you want to say it. But again, they're in work, they're in writing, they're in discussion, and it's going to be sooner rather than later. But being attached in the UDC, it'll come through this body for approval before it goes back to council for ultimate approval. So the policies, regardless, will be adopted by council.
All right, thanks.
Hopefully adopted. Say that.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. If there's no other future items or anything for discussion, this meeting is adjourned.